What is art in your opinion?
Ooh, big questions. So obviously a very difficult thing to define. I think that the only really like solid and necessary component into defining something as art or not art is I think that somebody needs to come along and declare it as such. I don't think that art is something that happens just inherently by itself. It's there has to be some sort of decision involved, because if somebody says this is art, they are framing it in such a way. They're putting it in that context, and they're presumably doing that for a reason. And so personally, I mean, I think that's enough. I think if you can, if you have a compulsion and a drive and a reason to, when I say framing, I don't mean like literally framing, but I mean, like putting it, framing it in a view of, being art, then, I think it's within your right to argue that it is. I think that beyond that, that kind of leads to the idea that art is a form of communication, which, I think is pretty consistent in terms of, what it's been used for, throughout the centuries and like through different mediums and things like that. Communication can be something as stark as, a form of journalism. If you look at, art history, people recording, the different, like, historical events and like, lifestyles of different, classes and things like that going on. Yeah, exactly. Landscapes, and you can use that in a historical context. Or, it can be a lot more complex and abstract than that. You can be recording something as like hard to grasp as, some sort of emotion or something like that. And when you're framing something as art, you're making a point to make that apparent to someone else. And I think that's where the communication part comes in. Or, if you're making something that, never sees the light of day to anyone except yourself, I think that like journaling is a form of communication. You're externalizing something that is going on in your head, you're kind of separating that from yourself so you can look at it and kind of process it through, like on a page or, outside of yourself. So it's still, a form of communication in that sense. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how I would, the only kind of thing that I would say is like necessary when it comes to like defining art. Anything beyond that I think is like can be totally open to interpretation and I'm sure we'll be debating and arguing it until the end of time.